Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wayne's World of Science and Technology. Today, we're going to talk about the Russian drone attack on Poland last night. About 2 weeks ago, I cut a video on the attack on the EU and UK offices in Kiev, where I pointed out that, in my opinion, this was probably an attempt by the Russians to get NATO involved. Because if NATO's involved, then they've got an excuse to quit. After all, they couldn't beat big bad NATO. Well, now we got them hitting Poland. Poland has called for Article 4, which is a consultation measure that NATO has where they basically sit down and talk about what happened and decide what action to take. One of the actions will be to shoot down everything that comes out of Belarus and Russia, I suspect. But anyway, that's something that we need to see. It hasn't happened yet. The point is that this looks very much like an attempt to get the West involved. This doesn't mean that it's Putin's idea. Don't forget, the Russian Federation is a big country with a lot of people. There are a lot of people at various points in power in the country who could be doing things against Putin's interests. As a matter of fact, we know that there are because things keep blowing up. I think that's kind of a pretty good indication that somebody's not happy with them. This basically, how should I put it? It's a worrying situation. NATO getting involved would crush Russia. There's no doubt about that. Russia just doesn't have the resources to take on all of NATO. Hell, they don't have the resources to take on Ukraine, plus what little help that NATO has given Ukraine. So, one way out of this, for those who wish to maintain their money, would be to come up with some sort of an excuse for Russia to have to quit. This is not something that Putin would necessarily want. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that he does not want this, that he thinks he's winning, that he thinks he's going ahead. But there are other people in Russia who have different interests. We don't know who ordered this, why it was ordered, or anything yet. Caution is a byword at this point. We need to be cautious because Russia, if I'm right, would gain more by NATO jumping in than they would by NATO staying out. At the current time, Ukraine is currently smashing Russia slowly, but they are smashing Russia to pieces. The second strongest military on the planet, at least according to that idiot site Global Firepower, can't beat the 16th strongest military on the planet. Yeah. Tells you a lot about how strong the second strongest military on the planet bloody was. The only way that Russia has managed to keep in this was the fact that they had a ton of garbage sitting in storage, and, well, that garbage was fixable. It may not have been well maintained, but it was there and it could be fixed and put back into service. Satellite imagery indicates that they are damn near out of everything. And when I say damn near out, when 2/3 of the tanks in a tank storage depot are gone, you can probably guess that the ones remaining are probably the worst conditioned tanks. Or they were ones that you couldn't get at. A lot of them are going to be the tanks that were just so shitty that they said, oops, we can do this one easier. I don't think people truly understand how badly they are suffering right now. They've got themselves in a trap. They can't quit this because if they quit this, they have to give back Crimea. If they give back Crimea, Putin loses power. So Putin can't quit it. Meanwhile, all the oligarchs are sitting there saying, but our super yachts. Yeah, and our homes on the French Riviera. And so for them, possibly some of them could have an interest in things going the other way. Also, Russia has a lot of different cultures inside of it. There's so many different small cultural groups that it's hard to keep track of them all. I don't even bother trying because Russian cultural groups aren't my main interest at the present time. The point is that these groups have different interests. Some of these groups are heavily Muslim, some of them are heavily Christian, some of them are old believers. And each of them has a totally different view on exactly what should be happening. These different views conflict. Some of them may be pushing some of the regions to think, ooh, We need to surrender fast. How do we do it? Well, we can't surrender the country, but if NATO gets involved, all of a sudden, our problem disappears. You know, it's really hard to determine exactly what the heck's going on over there. Back in the old days, they talked about Kremlinology. Well, it's worse than Kremlinology because in this particular case, you've got so many different sources, centers of power, that, well, your local supercomputer would have a headache out of this. Anyways, that's it for now, folks. Like, share, subscribe, on all that guff. You got anything out of it, and have a good day.